Happy IGN Live, everybody. How is it going out there? Allow me to introduce Joan Rousseau, who is the creative director and lead writer on Greedfall 2, The Dying World. Welcome. Have a seat. So Greedfall 2, the number 2.
Yeah.
Normally, that would denote something happening after, but this is a prequel. Is that right?
It's not even really a prequel. You know, it's like a kind of parallel story.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, you're not playing as the same character. Even most of the companions and character you will encounter are completely different. So let's say that's just because we're coming back to the world of Greedfall, then we get the truth. But it's different.
So
Story.
it's seeing that world from a different perspective.
Exactly. Yeah, it was the idea. So the story will begin, 3 years before the event of the first game, but this timeline is a bit longer. So in the end, when you will finish Greedfall 2, it will reach the same timeline as the first game. So it's really like parallel events. And as you're playing a character who is this time a native of Friday, so you're on the other side of the whole thing that you were able to see in the first game.
Let's back this up. So the first Greedfall you played as basically a colonist. Like you would go to the new world and you check it out.
Even if it was, I don't want to spoil the game too much for the ones that didn't play it, but it's true that
for anybody who didn't play the first one, is this like a clean, fresh jumping on point?
Yeah. Someone that know nothing about the first game can also, I guess, enjoy the second one. I hope so.
Let's sort of talk about the world. This is an entirely new setting. Can you kind of set the stage for us a little bit?
If I have to, it's a long story, but let's say that it's fantasy, but instead of taking inspiration into a more medieval universe, it's inspired that time by the 17th century and the European history of that moment. But it's not completely historical because we've got magic, we've got monsters, so it's still fantasy a lot. There are no real historical population, for example. It's only inspiration, and we built that world, well, for the first game. And during the first game, we were beginning, the story on the old world, so the old continent, and you were going into this island that were recently discovered, and you were trying, to colonize the island, as other people and other nations from the continent were already settling also on the island. But this time, it's the other way around. So you're playing as someone who is native from this island, and you have all these guys coming, from this other nation, far away continent that you have no knowledge about, that are coming there and trying to settle there. And obviously the two cultures are a bit, it can be a bit difficult. And so this is the island of Teofredi and your village. So the character will be customizable. This is a vanilla character, but obviously you will find all the customization options that you usually find to any RPGs. But for example, this is a character that was also in the first game, Mev. She was also an important character, and she will come back, a lot in this game too.
Are there a lot of returning characters that are going to show up from the first game?
Well, there are a few familiar faces, let's say, but not that much. But we try to bring some significant characters. I think that in nearly every faction that were visible in the first game, you will recognize some people that you were able to see. So this is a new mechanic, for example. This was not existing in the first game. We had some new talents for the player to develop. You're not obviously obliged to develop them, but these talents allow you to investigate or to disarm traps, this kind of things. So it's a few new mechanics that allow you to play in a different way all the different quests. In the first game, we always tried to propose different ways to solve the quest of the game, but this time we went even further and tried to add even more options. And all these options will have an impact on the story itself. It's not just, allowing different way of playing it. It's also a way to have different solution and different reaction of the world and of the other characters. There are also more factions. So, well, these guys are just plunderers, but, didn't want to go too much into that. But to come back to the universe and your question, your original question, as you will begin the game on the island, but you will have to live it, at a moment. And yeah, it would be helpful.
Sorry, I'm trying. Live production. If we could get the gameplay on this TV down here, that would be very helpful. Sorry.
Yeah, I would avoid to
craning
just
our necks
break
back
my neck after a while.
Diplomacy test fail. Now let's talk a little bit about sort of the player choice, and I guess the charm of a good role-playing game is really letting players have control and consequences. Can you sort of talk about how Greedfall 2 improves on the predecessor in that area?
Well, I don't know if you remember, but yeah, even for people who didn't play the first game, there were a lot of consequences. Each quest, as I was saying, it could be resolved in different ways. And the fact that, for example, if you are killing everyone to solve the quest, it can work, and it's still a possibility. But obviously, the person that are connected to the people you killed won't be very happy with you. This is like logical. But if you use sneaking option, if you use also your companions, because the companions are a great part of the story. It was already the case in the first game, but it's even more the case in the second one. You can ask your companions, for example, to help you in some dialogues. And so, for example, this warrior of your village, she's a bit more used than yourself to intimidate people. So you can ask her, please, can you tell them to leave the place, and if you ask her to do that, they will be afraid and they will leave the place. If you had tried to do it, as maybe you have not put enough point into your diplomacy option, you won't be able to do it, and you will have to fight them or to find another way around to enter these ruins you want to visit. So it's this kind of things. You've got an immediate consequence, but you will have also some consequences later. So all the things that you do, the world and the people will have knowledge of it and will remember it later. So we're not flashing a message saying he will remember it. No, we just do that in a logical way to make sure that your experience is unique and will be different from the one of another player. In all the playtests we've done, recently, it's very funny to see that people, they're playing and they're doing their own choice, the one that seems logical to them, and then they look at another one and say, but how did you manage to get there? And why this guy is telling you that? He's my best friend now, and he wants to kill you. What have you done? And it's how really we want the game to react to the choices of the player.
That's a role-playing game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For me, it's the hurt of the role-playing experience.
That's the key thing. And a lot of the times, a role-playing game is like there's one role. You're there. That's your character, and you still have that in this instance. But you're also going to be kind of swapping between different characters and really taking control of the entire party.
So this is especially true in the combat. For me, because I love this experience of having a group of character, and I think that the companions are super interesting because they bring you some, storytelling, and they can bring you some lore information, because every character and every companion especially is connected to a faction. So they bring you so many things that can be helpful as a player, and not only as a character, to discover the world and to understand in a different ways a different situation. But in the first game, it's true that during the fight you were only handling your character, and the companion were, handled by AI, and they were running around, and it was a bit messy sometimes, to be honest. And we had a lot of feedback from the players saying that, well, it's nice to have these companions. We can romance them. We can, we can change their clothes. We can equip them. But during the fights, they're doing their own thing. Why couldn't we have the control over them? So that's a decision we've made here. So now I would say the control is more closer in combat to games like, for example, let's say by your origin, where you have your group, you can use a tactical pose and give some direct order, you can move them, you can say, it's more like you're handling the battlefield more than just, directly having the control of only one character.
Now, one thing that comes to mind, controlling an entire party is Baldur's Gate 3, which was obviously a hugely successful recent RPG, which got a lot of feedback through early access, and this is also entering early access. Is that right?
Yeah, it's true. I love the game. I was, part of the early access since day one. Completely a fangirl for that. I was, waiting for it since Baldur's Gate 2. So, I mean, we've waited long enough, and I was really into it. And it's true that I really saw the game evolve, and for me, it was in some ways reassuring. I realized that having all this feedback from the community helped them to make a better game, and also to have all these people more engaged, more part of the world. They want to be part of the community, and it's something that I find so great. And when we decided to go into development of Greedfall 2, said, why not try that? And we've got this wonderful example. I can't pretend we're a smaller team. We're not Lions. They are amazing. We know that we can't compete with them, and it's not even the idea, but we can learn from them, and that was definitely a teaching moment. And going into the early access that way, we hope that we can create a better game with the help of the community. We had, from the first game already, a community which is incredibly engaged. I've never had as much as fan fiction, fan art coming from the community. I'm always amazed to see, the character I created, becoming comics, and it's beautiful. And I hope that they will love that. And knowing we have already this connection with the community, it was making sense also to go into an early access to make sure that we can work together for a better game.
Now, do you have a time frame for when early access is happening?
This summer.
Great.
We are still, as you can see, it's still under development. There are still a lot of things that we're working on. Yeah. So I can't give you a precise date, obviously, because we want to wait to make sure that, even if it's just a part of the game, that it's good enough for the player to enjoy it.
Great. Well, I'm dying to see more. Joan, thank you so much for joining us. I hope we get to chat more at Gamescom. Greedfall 2, The Dying World. Keep an eye out for it. Early access later this summer. Keep an eye out for more IGN Live. Coming up after this, we've got Atomic Picnic, so stick around right here.